Pickin in the kitchen with southern skies. If you like your music, southern fried. Well, put a smile on your face, bring a tear to your eye. Pickin in the kitchen with southern skies. A little cooking and a picking with southern skies.
To the Pickin in the Kitchen Family Edition. The COVID-19 Family Edition. Of course, everybody is quarantined to their respective places and their homes. All the Tessers, our usual guys and gals, and so we figured we had a couple fill-ins that just so happened to we've known all their lives. They've known us all their lives. This is our son, Mr. Troy Engel. Number 5.
Sir Troy Engel.
Yep. And we have Lizzie Engel over here on the fiddle and vocals. Of course, I'm Troy Engel. This is Mama, Mandy Engel. You guys like to eat, right?
Oh,
Mom likes to cook.
Favorite hobby.
So, yeah, it's her
favorite hobby.
It's her favorite pastime. Yeah, exactly. So, what we've been working on since we've been sort of staying close to the house a good bit, I got to thinking it might be cool to have some bread or be able to make bread.
Well, seeing that we can't find bread.
Yeah. Well, we can find bread. We just don't want to go out.
Right.
Go out as little as possible, right? And do our due diligence. So.
That's right.
Right. So we thought it's probably easier to find bread right now than it is to find flour, which we'll get to in a second. But I wanted to be able to make our own bread, and we looked around. We didn't have any yeast, so I was like, well, what can we do? And I looked online. You can do a sourdough starter. So I was like, ooh. So I started along the pathway of making a sourdough starter, which is about where Mandy out. She's like, you're using all this flour.
A whole bag of flour.
Every day you have to, we'll give the recipes and everything on the website, but you have to start with, it's just water and flour. That's all it is. 3/4 of a cup of flour and 1/2 cup of water in a container. And you stir it. And the natural yeast in the air and in your kitchen will turns that dough and water into a little yeasty surprise after about 7 to 10 days. It seemed like after about 7 days it wasn't going to work, and it finally kicked in, and lo and behold, we had an active starter. So that was pretty.
A smelly active starter.
I was very happy once I started seeing that thing rise and all the bubbles started coming out. what do we call it? What
We have a name for him.
Covey. We call him Coveys, right? For COVID, C-O-V-I.
He's our pet.
So he's our pet.
Yes, he lives in our fridge.
We told the kids, you know, some people said they have starters that I read online that they have them that are like over 100 years old.
Right.
So we can pass, maybe we'll divide it and we can pass it down to your kids and your grandkids.
Yeah.
It started during that great event back in 2020, right? So, well, thank you for tuning in. Mandy has got, you know, you've been watching her do her thing and put all the bread together. We're gonna take you through all that step by step. So we're doing this one a little different than we usually do. We usually do real time, but this one's, you couldn't do
I
real
didn't
time
think you wanted to hang with us for 6 hours. Maybe
Right.
you do, but
Right.
maybe
I don't
you
think I
don't.
want to hang for 6
I
minutes.
don't think. Yeah. First thing we do to start our bread process is we're going to add all of our ingredients to our mixing bowl. And we're going to do that by hand until we can't anymore. And then we're going to let it sit. So I'm just going to add these ingredients so you can see the amounts. Troy will post on the website. And that way you guys know exactly what it is. But I'm sure he will be talking about this. This is our starter. So I'm going to add this to the bowl. It's kind of sticky, so you really have to nudge it out of there. All right. Then we're going to add our honey. Then I believe the next thing we're going to do is our salt. And we have warm water. It doesn't have to be super hot or super cold, but it shouldn't be, you know, a little bit warmer than room temperature. Otherwise, it'll kill the yeast in your starter. And then you'll be left with a hockey puck when you're done. I kind of mix all that stuff together just to get it all in one, like homogeneous mixture sort of thing. And then we're going to add our flour. Now comes the part where you need muscles. Now you're going to mix this together just till it's combined. It might take a while. You're not going to overmix this either. It likes when you move it around, gets everything all together. All right. This looks a little dry to me, so I'm actually going to add just a, hold on a second. All right, let me see if I can get this to the camera so you can see this. It's not super sticky, but it's not super dry either. So this is what it's going to look like. And then what we do is we let this sit for 15 minutes just to kind of get into each other. And then we'll come back and we'll do the kneading part. Alright, so now our little buddy has sat in here for about 10 minutes, 15 minutes actually. We're going to go ahead and put it on our mixer. We put the dough hook on here. This will do all the work for you. If you don't have a mixer, I think with a mixer they recommend kneading for 5 to 7 minutes, but by hand it would be 8 to 10. So I'll show you some with the dough hook and then I'll plop it out and I'll show you how to do it by hand in case you have to do it by hand. But this saves a lot of work. So I'm just going to lock this in here. And you want to make sure it's locked down because if not it will pop up like crazy. So I just put it on low. And we just let it go. And it kind of does its thing. So, while that's going, I want to talk to you about our flour we used. I got recipes that said that you can alternate all-purpose flour with whole wheat flour, all that, as long as it's the same ratio of ingredients, it should be fine. We actually have high gluten flour because we got that during our COVID. That's all we could get, so that's what we have. But high gluten flour, it says that it actually makes chewy things better. So like bagels and sourdough bread and things like that. So We made a loaf and it was really good. So we're just gonna chalk it up to the really good flour. So anyway, it does its thing.
So thanks to our buddy.
Oh, yes, the guy who we got the flour from, Joe Messina, owns Glen Rock Pizzeria here in Glen Rock, Pennsylvania. He's the one who sold us the flour. So shout out to Mr. Joe. I think that's why our bread is so good. But anyway, one other thing I want to tell you is you should have a bowl waiting in the wings. It doesn't really matter how big it is, it's just going to let it rise. And you want to grease that, so that way when it goes in there, it doesn't find friction rising. It just has a nice greasy place to climb up the sides. So that's waiting for our little buddy here. I'm going to go ahead and move this stuff so I can show you how to hand knead. And you'll see with this dough, it's really wet and it sticks to the side of the bowl a little bit. That's okay, because when you turn it out and get it ready to put in your bowl, you're gonna have a little bit of flour so you can kind of get it to the consistency you want. It kind of scared me the first time because I was like, it's really wet and it was sticking, but it all turned out well in the end, so. Here, I'll show you. It's kind of sticky, and it's sticking to the sides of the bowls, but that's okay. It'll be fine. You'll just need a little bit of elbow grease to get it out, but that's okay. We all have elbow grease to spare. So. If it seems like it's getting a little too wet and it's really sticking, you can always sprinkle some flour in, just a little at a time. But you'll still get that flour in when we start kneading it a little bit. And you'll see when you add flour, it'll start pulling stuff away from the sides of the bowl. And that's what you want, eventually. Now as you knead this, too, you're going to see a change. It'll go from like a shaggy looking dough to like real soft and pillowy. That's when you know the gluten is doing its job. We're almost there. And if you find too that your dough kind of creeps up the side and kind of starts hanging out up at the top here, you can always turn this off and push your dough down, put your dough hook back in and start it again. Sometimes it has a mind of its own. I hope Troy set a timer for how long this is kneading, because I did.
We've been taping for 5 minutes.
We've been taping for 5 minutes, so it's about 4 minutes, so let's go. This is a new thing for us because usually Troy does this live all the way through, warts and all, messes up, you know, things, and it's okay because we all mess up, but that's fine. But this time we actually have to do little segments because this whole process actually takes from the time you start mixing this by hand to you pull it out of the oven, it's about 6.5 hours. So we didn't have 6.5 hours tape, and we probably didn't want to bore you for 6.5 hours. So we're taking it in chunks. Alright, I think this might be good. So we're going to turn this off. And I'm going to take all the dough down in here. And it is super sticky, super wet. But that's okay. Just want to have some flour next to you that you can put on your hands. Hope y'all can see this area. Here. We're going to put some of this down. And you want to put some on your hands because you're going to need it to get this out. And I just take my fingers and just kind of scrape, almost like a mini spatula. And out it comes. You can get all the pieces in there. Best thing to do is just flour your hands and go in there, and it just kind of creates a little barrier that doesn't stick to you as much. Alright. So there's our dough. I'm going to sprinkle some more flour on top. Alright, so what I do is I pull and push. So you pull it and you push it. And it's really soft. It's kind of fun. Get your aggressions out. But as you do it over and over again, it will actually change. So right now, it's really soft and it's dry. It's not really sticking to my hands anymore because we put that flour down. You don't want to add too much flour. It will take it in, but you don't want to add too much because it'll make it dense and you won't have all those wonderful little air pockets that make it so good at the end. All right. So there's our little mound of loveliness. And it's starting to stick again, so we'll just sprinkle. All right. And like I said, you can't really overwork this. I think you can overwork it if you use the mixer. But if you do it by hand, you're going to wear out before it wears out. I'm pretty sure of it. So, another thing I did find that if you use a mixer, you want to make sure that your motor doesn't get hot or super hot, that it would, the heat would radiate down into here. Let me see if you can see it. And make this dough hook warm. Because if it does that, it can actually stop your yeast from performing like it should. So, all right, so we have our dough. Nice little pillow of dough. Make it into a little ball, all nice and pretty. And you just plop it in there. And like I said, make sure that your bowl is greased all the way up so that way as it rises, it doesn't hit any friction. That would slow it down. And then you're going to cover this with plastic wrap and just sit it somewhere warm in the kitchen. Some people put it up on top of the fridge. We stick it on our stove under the light on the stove because it's one of the warmest spots in the kitchen. And the first rise, you're going to let it rise for 3 hours. And you might not see it double by then, but it's okay. Just be patient. You haven't done anything wrong. And sometimes it just takes a little longer. It depends how cold your kitchen is and a bunch of different factors. But just be patient. I had to learn that I had to be patient with bread because yeah, I'm not patient, so this was a learning experience. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and sit this on the stove, and we'll be back later on after 3 hours, and you can see what it looks like then. Okay, so our dough has been sitting for 5 hours now. So after 3 hours, I came in here and I took it and I flipped it over. Then I covered it for 2 more hours. So this is what we're left with. This puffy, beautiful, wonderful dough. Just want to lay on it, take a nap. So I'm going to show you how to form it into a loaf. The only 2 things that you'll need for this is a Dutch oven. You can use a round one or this oval one we have. If you have a round one, you'll make a round loaf. If you have an oval one, you can make an oval loaf. One thing, there is a life hack to this is using parchment paper so you can lower it in. I unfortunately do not have parchment paper because COVID, we didn't know we needed parchment paper. So I do it without it. So if you have parchment paper, it makes it a lot easier, and I'll show you what to do with that. But I'll explain it anyway, not show you. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to make this into a loaf. So you want to get some flour because you're going to turn out your dough. And it looks like a lot, but once you start working on it, it actually deflates a little bit. So here's our dough. We have plenty of flour so it doesn't stick. So you want to kind of make it into an oval. Just make sure you have plenty of flour. And what you're going to do is you're going to take the two corners, and you're going to come up like a third of the way down, and you're going to press it. And you have this little, looks like a bicycle seat sitting up here, and you want to push that down. And you're going to flip it around, and you're going to do the same thing to the other side. So you pull your corners down, and then push your little bicycle seat down. Then what you do is you put your thumbs not on the seam, but a little bit above it, and you're going to fold it towards you over your thumbs. And we're going to seal that down. So this makes this little oval like that. And what you can do is kind of tuck it in a little bit. Make it as long as you want. I'm going to put this here so I'm not making it too long. And it will rise another time while it's in the oven. But you'll see too when you start doing this, there'll be little bubbles underneath the top skin of this, so you'll know everything's still working. If for some reason you're too long, you can just take your fingers and shove them in and just seal that down. So then you have this nice, tight little loaf of bread. And he's so cute. I often go underneath just to make sure that all the seams are together. You don't want it to have an open gap because it'll actually blow out. Then you'll have a misshapen loaf in your oven. Alright, so there's that. I'm going to double check, make sure I got it. Yeah. Especially with us not having parchment paper, you want to have enough room that you can hold the dough and drop it in the hot, in the Dutch oven without burning your hands. Because this will be hot when we bring it out of the oven. With that being said, so this guy is good. So we're just going to let him hang out here in a little pile of flour. Okay, so he's good. We're going to let him sit, and while he's sitting, what we're going to do is we're going to turn our oven on to 450. We're going to hear a lot of beeps. Hold on a minute. Here we go. Okay, and you want to start this with a cold oven. So you're going to turn your oven on. You're going to stick your Dutch oven empty into your oven, and you're going to let that actually get really, really hot. It takes 40 minutes. So I'm going to have to remove one of our shelves because our Dutch oven is really tall. So you just put it in there like that. And that's it. And while he's warming up, you're going to let this guy sit for 40 minutes. And then we'll put it all together and get him ready to bake. We have put our Dutch oven in the oven for 40 minutes. And it is super hot. The oven was at 450. So this is like fire hot. So we're just going to pull that out. And take the top off. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually, if you had parchment paper, you could actually make your loaf on the parchment paper and let it rest on the parchment paper. And then all you would have to do is pick up the parchment paper and lay it down into the pot. And you could actually score it before you did that. But since I don't have that, I'm just going to do it this way. And you can use a super sharp knife to score the top or a razor blade. I'm using a razor blade. So And the reason why I scored this after I put it in there is because when I pick this up, it would mush it all back together again. So parchment paper would make it a lot easier. So you're going to pick up your loaf. Gently. Make sure you have it in the shape you want it. You're just going to put it in your Dutch oven. It's going to start to rise right away. You're going to take your razor blade and you're going to make as many slits as you want. I do 3. Some people get fancy and do designs. If I had parchment paper, I might try to do an E for angle, but yeah, that's not going to happen today, but that might be on my list to do. So, all right, so then what you do is you stick the lid back on here, and we're going to put this back in the 450-degree oven for 15 minutes with the lid on, and then we're going to take the lid off for 15 minutes and bake it to the crust color that you want. So, but the Dutch oven makes like a steam environment for it, so it gets like that crispy, crunchy crust, but the inside's nice and soft and wonderful. So we're going to stick that back in there, and we'll put our timer on 15 minutes, and then we will do the next.
So that smell of that bread is filling up the kitchen here. You guys get ready to eat it, right?
Yeah.
Mandy, we have already made. Mandy made rolls for Easter, sourdough rolls, which are the best we've ever had. Pretty much, you made those for Easter dinner. Yeah, we made 2 batches of those. We made an original loaf of bread, which is a little different than that. This is an artisan loaf that we were doing. Mm-hmm. So this is a little different, I think, better tasting than the other, but the other was very nice too. We also, you can use the discarded starter. You're supposed to take half of it out and then start over the next.
And you'll see that in the recipe
I'll
that Robert's on there too.
So we also made crumpets with that. We made, we just made bagels actually.
Yeah.
Not with the discard, but we made bagels last
night. Mm-hmm.
And
those are delicious.
So I'm carving out, of course, which is
carb crazies.
Yep.
Woo!
But,
and soft.
Seems like this is our 15-minute mark, so you're gonna have to take that out.
So we're gonna pull the Dutch oven out and take the lid off. And at this point, your bread is pretty much like baked, but it's not crusty yet. So I don't know if they can't see this, but there we go.
Ooh. It's looking like bread though.
Smelling like bread.
Smells like bread.
Okay, so
Warm dough. Can't go wrong, right?
that's right. That goes back in for 15 minutes, and while that's in there, that's when it gets the crust on top. So you can keep it in there anywhere from 15 to 18 minutes. I usually pull it out around 16 just because that's the crustiness we like, but that's how that works.
Just like you like your husband's. Krusty. Krusty the Clown off of, yeah.
Cheesy and crusty.
Cheesy and crusty, yeah, exactly, just like your husband. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we made a lot of goodies out of that.
Mm-hmm.
We want to thank our buddy, Mr. Joe Messina, down at Glen Rock Pizzeria here in Glen Rock, PA. We couldn't find any flour anywhere. You couldn't buy it online, so it's still sort of hard to find. But Mandy called down there and said, "Hey, do you have any flour you'd like to send?" He's like, "Yeah, we take care of it."
He said, "I'll take care of you. How much you need?"
So he did. So we appreciate him doing that.
Absolutely.
And, we appreciate everybody too who's working hard to keep the country running, keep everybody safe, and prayers for everybody out there during this time, and even people like Joe and little restaurants. And we've been shopping at Brown's Orchard close by, and they work hard to do a good job and do curbside service and make it a really good, efficient thing. Also, Godfrey Brothers meats up in Loganville, Jacobus. I guess Loganville is their address.
Yeah.
But just great companies around here who are looking out for their customers and taking care of them.
And good quality stuff too. Yeah. So, I mean, it's win-win for everybody.
And we thank all the first responders and everybody's on the front line. We got some family members who are out there every day in the thick of it, and we appreciate everything they're doing. So,
absolutely. You
want to do a song for that? Okay.
Let me get my bass. Hold on a minute.
Mama, get her bass. I think Lizzie's going to sing a song for us now, aren't you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we're doing.
This is one.
See, right?
This was one of my grandmother's favorite favorite tunes, and so we'll send this out to Nanny Engel. Why not? Right? Called "You Are My Sunshine."
Snap claps, yeah.
Very good. Yep. So I sort of gave the kids an assignment a couple nights. We haven't done it that much, but made each one of them. I told them each one of them to pick a song they wanted to learn. We did it. So we put a couple of those on Facebook. If you want to check out my Facebook page, you can see it on there. But I wanted to maybe do a song for the folks here too, and this is one that has been around a long, long time. The Carter family recorded, and send this out in memory of Miss Dixie for sure. 'Cause Miss Dixie Hall, she sure loved the Carter family. She was one of them, really. I mean, she was an adopted daughter of the Carters, and I was thinking, I don't know what year they recorded this. Of course, the first Bristol sessions were in 1927, but maybe they cut this on there. And the Whites do an amazing job. But it's called "Keep on the Sunny Side," and I was thinking, think of everything that's happened since 1927. There's been all kinds of,
wars,
bad events that happen, the stock market crashes and things like that. Mm-hmm. And songs like this, it still talks about the sun, keep on the sunny side. There's dark storm clouds, no matter what, down through time. Every generation goes through at least one of, a bad time and a tough time. And I think it's just a reminder that God's with you and will always continue to be with us.
And He's in control.
Yep,
Absolutely.
He's in control. So send this out to Miss Dixie. Send it out to all you folks out there. Then we're going to eat some bread here in a minute. That's the important part. We'll do "Keep on the Sunny Side Alive."
the dark and a troubled side of life. There's a bright and a sunny side too. Though we meet with the darkness and strife, the sunny side we also meet you. Keep on the sunny side, always on the sunny side. Keep on the sunny side of life. It will help us every day, we'll ride along if we keep on the sunny side of life. Though the storms in their fury rage today, crushing hopes that we cherish so dear, the clouds and the storm will pass away. The sun again will shine bright and clear. Keep on the sunny side, always on the sunny side. Keep on the sunny side of life. It will help us every day, and we'll ride along if we keep on the sunny side of life. Stay with us there. We'll keep on the sunny side, always on the sunny side. Keep on the sunny side of life. It will help us every day, and we'll ride along if we keep on the sunny side of life.
Wow. Hey. Well, we just pulled our Dutch oven out of the oven about maybe 10 minutes ago. So like I said, you can bake it for anywhere from 15 to 18 minutes. We like ours like a light golden brown. If you like it darker than that, you leave it in longer. It's cooked pretty much after your first 15 minutes you bake it, but it doesn't get quite as yummy if you pull it out then. So I'm going to show you the loaf. This is it. And you know when it's good when you hit the back and it sounds hollow. So, there you go. So I guess we're going to slice it up. We're going to try it.
And we're going to eat it.
And we're going to eat it.
Taste test.
Yeah.
That's what we do best, right?
Mm-hmm. We're gonna eat some more.
It's going to be noisy. I'm sawing away.
Sawing on the strings.
That's right.
Sawing on the bread. And you got some fine accoutrements here. Of course you have butter. You wouldn't want to have bread without butter. But the other thing we have is some of Mandy's homemade apple butter, which is awesome. Which we have a freezer up in our garage, and you sort of tend to forget what's in the freezer. And it was sort of a blessing. It was sort of like a manna from heaven, because I went up there and I was like, oh, let's see what we got in there. And we had 2 turkeys and some
green
bacon
beans.
and green beans and hamburger meat and applesauce that Mandy had made and froze, and apple butter that she had made and froze. So, and I think the apples came from my Aunt Margaret's house, maybe, or maybe it was a different year. So it's been sticking around for a couple years, but it's really good.
All right, so
How's it looking?
it looks
I
good.
see some steaming
See
bread
all the
over there.
little holes in there where all of the little starter things gave off their
All the
wonderful
little
gases.
yeast gas,
Yes.
where they belched out all the deliciousness, right?
Mm-hmm. All right.
This is all for me. You guys have yours?
This is
Yeah,
my plate.
there's mine.
Oh,
My
okay.
plate.
What do you want? You want butter or you want? What do you want, bud?
I'll just have butter. Butter.
It's warm, so don't burn your mouth.
Yeah, go easy. What do you have?
I have butter, please.
You butter in the
I
bread?
guess so. Butter the bread.
I know where
There you
I know what's at my bread's butter.
go. What do you have? Man?
I'm a butter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Future.
I am gonna get some of this apple butter.
I'll have butter too.
Oh, apple butter and butter.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll do that.
I knew that was gonna happen.
You know, I surrendered to apple butter.
You caught me.
Yeah.
I'm guilty.
All right.
It's a Engel family
Woo!
sourdough. Thank you, Kobe. Oh my.
That's good.
Many will say that's about the best bread I've ever had in my life, I think. Got a nice little crust on
Now
it.
you can make it because you know how.
Now you know how to do it.
Right.
Well, wishing you all the best. Hoping you're staying safe and healthy. And we hope to see you for too long. We've had some dates canceled, but keep an eye on our schedule on TroyAngle.com.
Absolutely.
And
might have some
check
special
us out.
guest appearances at some of their shows.
do
We don't
that.
know.
Southern Skies is now on Spotify, so all of our Spotify folks, go out there,
Absolutely.
check it out. I also have some instrumental music called Americana Roots under that label on there. You can look up Americana Roots on Spotify. Check out the website. Hopefully we'll see you this summer, if not in the fall sometime live at a show. And maybe we'll get these guys. They usually come out and sing with us sometimes. So now you know who they are, and we'll see you next time. So thank you so much. Thank you, Mandy, for the awesome bread. See y'all later. Take care.
Take care.
Kitchen with Southern Skies, a little cooking and a picking with Southern Skies.